I'm an entrepreneur. I have a company on the west side that has a line of heat and sound control products that our primary market is high performance auto industry. So.
I'm Lisa Markley. I'm Jackson's mother, and I manage the Markleys.
The hardest job.
The hardest job there is.
Hold on just for a second. By the way, we're on recording, so hi. Okay, so what's the name of this class? Marketing what? Entrepreneur marketing. Okay, good. So this was the first time that we did this class online. Input, quick. What did you think, Jamie?
Oh, don't tell. I did enjoy the online aspect. I also liked the Zoom, like when we were on Zoom, because it gave us a chance to have you be the teacher instead of us just trying to learn from a book. So it was really nice to have those lectures every other week, and I think that was very educational and helpful.
Okay. Stacy. So you notice I'm only going to the good ones. I know how you guys go.
I feel like I learned a bit about a topic I'm not familiar with, but is of interest to me, like blockchain and all that. But it's a curveball though, because there's not a lot of structure. So.
Right?
I like the structure.
Oh, I had a great time.
Let me put that in.
Hi again. I think coming into this class, entrepreneurial marketing, I don't see myself as an entrepreneur
Yeah.
for some reason. But coming into this class, I love the structure of it. I love that we were able, well, a couple of us weren't able to stay at home and do the class, but I love that the option is there. Again, looking at what cryptocurrency is, I hadn't the foggiest idea, no idea. Heard of it, wasn't interested in it, had no idea. So it was good to do research on what it's all about.
So trends, when I took a look at these three customers last year, it was all about social media because they were all about Facebook. They were all 50-ish and thought that their customer, who was my customer, was just on Facebook. And after the class went through and actually showed them, in a lot of cases, LinkedIn was the best way to go. If you go on LinkedIn now, all three of them have in some way expanded into the LinkedIn market. And it'll be interesting because I'm going to see Punderson tonight and see how their results are. And I get a lot of input back from the companies on the experience. When I first started this, particularly R43, we had a pre-meeting and they were like, well, can we leave early? When we get the questions. Well, at 12:30, I had to kick R43 out because there was so much collaboration going on and not realizing, how much information they didn't know. And, Jackson started, I met Jackson while he was sitting researching on his phone in class at Chagrin Falls. But I knew that he had that entrepreneur spirit because it was in the family from Dave that, he was going to find something. And sitting in class, doing stuff, making sure that I'm did I answer the questions and all that. That's not him. But how many years have you been doing this? 3 years. Have you gotten paid for it? No. Did you get a grade for it?
No.
No. So you had a passion for it. Gina, you will be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
It might not be next year or the year after, but you're going to find a problem, right? And Cryptocurrency, when Jackson was in class at $400, I bailed. I said, the government's coming in, this is not going anywhere. I was a little off. It's going to go somewhere. It's, yes, a what if. All it will take is some regulation that comes in that'll change how things happen. But it's in our lives. And that was one reason I know I had a lot of questions from you guys as students, why cryptocurrency? And it's going to be there internationally. Now I can, across borders. Dave, how many countries do you sell in?
32.
32. What do you do about currency exchange and all that?
We pay a lot of fees in wiring money. I looked at it the other day and, it's $35 roughly on both ends of the wire transaction.
Right.
So it's quite a bit of money. I mean, it's appealing, the concept of moving money that way.
I mean, as the business owner, whatever the dollars are, you get rid of that fee. Where do those dollars go to?
Bottom line.
Bottom line. Solve a problem. Whatever you're going to do, the church, solve a problem. Where do we get more money? How do we get more people engaged? How do you build the brand, whatever it might be? Okay. I appreciate the input from everybody and what you've done this 8 weeks. We could probably get it done in 6, but yeah, Amber says you got to take 8 to get it done. So we'll go through your presentation, and then we'll get some input from everybody after for a little collaboration. So who is up?
Just so you know, me and Ali did not collaborate on our fashion jewelry this morning. Showed up with Al. Once again, thank you for coming out this morning and to listen to our presentation. I hope what you take from it is at least one suggestion, okay? The presentation that we've been tasked with this morning is one where we have been asked to not maybe find a solution for Yorkshire Capital, but again, to make a suggestion. Coming into this class, many of us had no idea what Bitcoin was. Like I said, I haven't the foggiest idea what it is. But I've learned a bit. So the Yorkshire Capital Management is a fintech firm that specializes in Bitcoin investments for millennial clients. So they're contemplating on broadening their horizon and getting in more clientele to and to monetize their hedge fund.
So I'll start it off. So my part of the presentation was about persuasion, which was a fun challenge because I am terrible at persuading people to do things. So I kind of set it up as a who you are, what you are, and why people should go with you. So the first part is who. That's you. I kind of wrote this for all 3 of you, yeah. So I'm sorry if you guys are a little let down on this one. But you guys are students at Ohio Wesleyan. You said you're a senior, right? Yep. So you're almost done, which is awesome. But being students, that makes you sound young, a little unexperienced. So we need to get people past that. So you guys, as I read, have over 15 years combined experience in business, which is awesome. And it seems like you've had a lifetime, so that also kind of helps out. But most importantly, you guys aren't just students, you are Yorkshire. So what should people know about you guys? You guys meet a need that people should be asking you for, and it's investing in cryptocurrency. But the big problem is people probably don't know what that is. As you said, a lot of people here didn't know exactly what that was. So I think one of the most important things that you can do is educate your customers. Not too much to where they don't need you anymore, but enough so that they trust you. So how do we do that? Building trust, obviously. So just a few examples of that. What was it, like a year ago when you peaked at 18,000, 19,000?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
So people jumped on the bandwagon. Google went up, people were looking up Bitcoin, people were investing, then they lost tons of money. So they probably have a bad taste in their mouth of Bitcoin. So you can describe to them why that happened, how it happened, And if you show them, if they would have been a little more patient, they could have bought in at 3,000, had it go up to 18,000. You don't get that very often in the stock market. So obviously this is all generations, young generations, old generations. Young generations are probably a little bit more into this because, you know, it's new, kind of fun. Older generations are probably a little skeptical because they like savings accounts, they like stock markets. So your education and your knowledge can sell to all these generations. What's the youngest generation? X?
Z.
Z.
You know.
Definitely not mine.
So Z, you know, they're probably still a little bit too young for this, but it's never too early to start, you know, start that education, letting them know what's coming up. Another big thing is I can pull out my phone right now. Well, you can watch my phone. I can buy Bitcoin right now. So you need to tell me, you need to educate me as to why I need you so much. If anyone doesn't know, Bitcoin is 24/7. I can buy it at 2 in the morning. I can sell it when I wake up. So you guys need to kind of tell people that you're a 24/7 company. You're always going to be monitoring this. Like I said, sell the fact that you're a 24/7 company, and people should know that you are a complete investment company for the future of cryptocurrency, and I mean, that's real money, so there's really nothing you can't sell someone on. So in the end, why should I invest with you guys? Like I said, 15 years experience, you guys are only getting more experience. You've seen the markets, you've seen the highs, you've seen the lows. I know you guys have been in it for 3 years, large chunk of the market. 3 years ago, what was the price at about 3 years ago?
Probably like $4,000.
Yeah, so and we're up to like 8, 9 right now, so that's incredible. The market, I know someone's going to, I think you're going to touch on this. It's a millennial market. You're a millennial. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. So if you can make people trust you, your age, your knowledge, you should have no problems. So the next part is the challenge. How do we monetize this?
So before we look at the challenges, we're going to look at Bitcoin globally and cryptocurrency globally. When it was birthed in 2007 by Satoshi Nakamoto, apparently, and it was first mined 2 years later. The Genesis block was the first block that was mined, and Nakamoto received 50 Bitcoins, the first 50 Bitcoins ever to be circulated. If you invested $1,000 in Bitcoin the first year that it came out, you would now be rich to the tune of 36.7 million British pounds. Wow, man. So since its founding, Bitcoin, the locations, the top 10 global hotspots for Bitcoin last year, Investopedia reported are San Francisco is top. There's London, Tel Aviv, there's Tampa, there's Zurich, there's a small little town in Slovenia that I can't even pronounce its name. But the one with the most success, the location with the most success is definitely the USA when it comes to Bitcoin. The upcoming hotspots globally are Malta and Cyprus, Zimbabwe and Venezuela also, even those two are really facing economic uncertainty at the moment. So the cryptocurrency on a global scale, last year it was valued at $856 billion US, and it's forecast to show vigorous growth between now and 2024, according to researchandmarkets.com. The many influences of these successes are the accelerating high demand of cryptocurrency includes high transfers in developed countries. It also has increasing fluctuation in monetary regulation, and it's also a rising awareness among the investors, especially in emerging nations. Bitcoin currency holds a major share, but there are other cryptocurrencies out there like Ethereum, Ripple, and Bitcoin Cash. So due to the captivating features, the models have been, Bitcoin has been the major, sorry, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Growing awareness among the Asian community is what has made Bitcoin increase in its popularity. We move on to the marketing strategy.
Okay, as far as who to invest into, According to the research I've done, millennials are a huge target market because they're waiting away from the traditional banking and investing in their savings account or investing in the stock market. Since the 2008 stock market crash, or the, I guess, economic crash, the recession started, millennials were feeling the blow because they were coming out of college and they didn't know how to make money or where to make money or where to get jobs. So millennials, I think, are the best target market for us. I think Generation X is a little too old. They're more interested in the stock market and they're more interested in investing in themselves and investing in their savings. As far as Generation Z, I'm 99% sure the beginning of Generation Z was born in the year 2000, which means they graduated last year. So they don't care about investments right now, so we're not even going to focus on them. Where are they living? So millennials are living in major cities. The three biggest cities millennials are currently living in are Seattle, Washington, Columbia, South Carolina, and Sacramento, California. Now, food for thought, something I noticed with all the cities, like the top 10 cities are either southern or western. So what I also noticed was a lot of these cities, pot was legalized in. Now, take it for what you will. I'm not sure if it's a trend you want to follow in the future, but it's just a weird coincidence that millennials are happening to move into the cities. I mean, Denver was one of them. Come on. So, as far as what companies we should focus on, like kind of getting interested in Yorkshire capital, I'm thinking emerging companies that have been around for 3 to 5 years, just like Yorkshire has. You're more relatable to them, and you're more likely to get into meetings with these companies because they're not going to look at you like some young company who doesn't know what they're doing as much as like a company like Microsoft would, or any other big company like Google. So the top 3 emerging companies nationally are all located in California. There's Instacart, Suja Juice, and AdBoom Group. Now, if you want to stay local and you want to stay in the Cleveland area, there's a lot of healthcare going on in Cleveland. So the 3 biggest emerging healthcare companies are Cleveland Heart Lab, Lean Dog, and Bravo Wellness. So for your SWOT analysis, the strengths for Yorkshire Capital are the knowledge of the market. I shouldn't have to tell you how the market's been going because you guys have presented to us that you're very knowledgeable on the topic. Some of your weaknesses, however, are you are a young team. I believe you're about my age, like 22, 23. So, I mean, even me walking into a company, they're going to look at me like I'm a child. So, another thing is you're a startup company, so you're still relatively new. You still have time to grow and time to flourish. So, some of the opportunities for Yorkshire Capital, are the heightening awareness of cryptocurrency. I think within at least the last 5 years, cryptocurrency has started to kind of finally make a name for itself. I mean, being a millennial, I really didn't know anything about cryptocurrency, so I've recently heard more about it in the news and in the media. As far as threats go, foreign interference is probably one of your biggest threats, and then larger companies who are also in the fintech industry. Now introducing the value group. Jamal, you guys want to take over?
Just like it, Jamal, towards you. Towards you. There you go.
Hello, I'm Jamal, and we decided to focus on the millennials to grow your subscriber base. And by the chart, the list, you can see that these cities are, like how Ann said, more Midwestern and Southern cities. So we would like to do a college speech tour of the Midwest. The colleges that have cryptocurrency classes are all private colleges and Ivy League colleges. So doing speeches for the Midwest schools that aren't into that yet would give y'all a value that is higher because you actually have the knowledge and they're still trying to teach it. For a college speaker that doesn't have a celebrity fan base, you get from $1,500 to $30,000 a speech. So y'all have a subscriber base. So we need to grow that subscriber base. And we think by doing a college tour it will gain a millennial base and teach, it will show that you all are actually doing it, and they will actually want to invest their money, because the millennials are coming into jobs and coming into inheritances of their parents and getting into higher places where they can have funds.
So there's a large knowledge gap when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and security issues around that. The aim is to illustrate your leadership in the industry, to get your potential clients educated, and as touched upon in the previous group as well. And you're in a unique position because this is a relatively new industry, as well as being a relatively uncrowded market at the time. So the work done now will address the reservations that consumers and clients may have, to educate and empower them to know more. So in an effort to generate revenue, we recommend creating partnerships and affiliate marketing with other security and financial partners. Dashlane and NordVPN are companies that are around internet security, and they do password protection and they do secure internet connections, as well as Common Bond, since you're dealing with the millennial market. That helps with those students coming out of college to repay their loans. And then Morning Brew is a financial newsletter that is circulated on a daily basis. And the way their marketing is done, they also partner with a lot of they have sponsorships and they have affiliate links as well. And the other aspect is expanding your social media to include published articles on LinkedIn, as well as creating content for your Facebook group and YouTube, expand into YouTube, have interviews, panels, Q&As, and ways that you can educate your consumer, whereas they may not be ready to invest in those big ticket items at the moment. You would be getting your name out there and building your reputation in the industry. So with that, another way to monetize your content is to offer people classes, online courses are incredibly popular at the moment, and to have special webinars in order to get your name out there more and to educate your consumers on exactly what blockchain and cryptocurrency are and what the security issues around those areas. There was I believe it was in an exchange in Asia, and all of a sudden millions of dollars disappeared in blockchain or in cryptocurrency. And it wasn't necessarily because it was in the blockchain, it was sitting in that exchange, and hackers were able to get into it. And another problem down the road, which you mentioned in your interview video, is the advent of quantum computers. Now, that's a technology that is at least 10 years down the road. Recently in the news, Google had an advancement, but they're still not sure if that's more of a marketing ploy or a real thing there. So that's down the road. So what you want to do now is focus on educating your consumers what's going on with securities today, and how partnering with these companies or other companies that provide internet security is going to be helping with your reputation. Carlos?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carlos again, and I'm going to be talking about subscriptions, investment tiers, creating awareness, and attracting the most significant number of customers. It is important to develop content for the subscriptions. Why? Because they will increase the perceived value, while the subscribers have access to more knowledgeable content for opportunities, for invitations, events, related to fintech and cryptocurrency conferences. The perceived value will establish by people willing to or having the desire to be part of that group, having different subscriptions where people get different type of benefits. Also, seeking to increase the perceived value, offering alternatives for investing in different segments of millennials, while providing different type of subscriptions. You guys already have the newsletter, that's great, but developing a basic, advanced, a premium, and then subscribers are intended to have 3 different levels according to the needs of the market. So create content according to the market. The subscriptions are intended to monetize as well, while potentially attracting new investors as well with the app. So developing an app, it's great. Everyone has a phone. Everyone wants to have access to information, and why not create games or content that kids and millennials, everyone can have access to it. Also, creating awareness is very important. So, I took the initiative to develop this phone case for you guys to have. I don't know if you guys have an iPhone 7 Plus. And then created some top sockets. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. A bunch of them. You guys are welcome to take them, or anybody.
Thank you.
So, attracting the most significant number of customers by doing giveaways, attracting your customers, it's important, because that way you brand your company and you get to be known. So everyone's with their phone, everyone will wonder what is Yorkshyre, and then that allows for opportunities for people to talk about your company. And also, I included your Twitter account, but if you have an Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, for people to find you easily. Also, we have the investment tiers right here. We suggest to have 3 different tiers. The big group, where people can buy portions of Bitcoin. Then the average group, investors that are willing to spend from $10,000 to $100,000. And then we have the high achievers, inheritance of assets that are willing to invest from $100,000 up. So there's a lot of variety of assets within millennials. Some millennials my age might be just doing okay financially, or some other ones will be probably doing really good working, or others inheriting the assets of their parents or their grandparents. They might not know how to handle that amount of money. So that's important for you guys, Yorkshyre Capital, to be money managers and increase the value of the company by promoting that. So people will be willing to trust you guys by having good knowledge of cryptocurrency and establishing your company as a secure company that people will trust. Then we have the goals overall for the perceived value are to gain customers for a lifetime with a prosperous investing profits gains, creating a solid foundation as partners and potential future investors locally, starting local, then nationally and globally, why not? Increasing network relations for investment, business, and expanding opportunities, knowledge, and about cryptocurrency to gain investors, partners, customers for life, and solidifying and establishing cryptocurrency as the new way of payment and investing in the 21st century. Please. Anna, Liz.
Come on, Carlos.
And then touching on some marketing tools, I feel like the biggest opportunities with your marketing tools, you have an opportunity to create safety and an opportunity to educate. So using your website to possibly share customer experiences, so you can have people who have invested in your company just share their experience so that when people go to your website, they can just see what other people have experienced and make them feel like, okay, you know, this person experienced it this way, maybe it is safe. As well as having a Q&A section so that people, investors or not, could ask questions. And those questions and answers could be stay on the website so that you can better educate people who have questions. And a lot of the questions that people are asking are probably questions that other people want the answers to. So I feel like that's a great way to utilize your website. And social media is just a great way for you to build relationships with your customers, engage with them, opportunity to create community, and just maintaining those pages, keeping them up to date. The newsletter's fantastic, and Google Analytics, it's just it's a great way for any company to track their marketing techniques and seeing how they're working and what's working so that you know where to invest your money and how you're marketing.
So you have to track these, your website, your social media, you have to track the engagement on certain topics. So the use of statistics, like Liz said, Google Analytics, you can find out what topics are like hot right now. Like it could be Bitcoin, you know, there's a lot of different coins out there, there's a lot of different topics on blockchain itself. So you can find out what to put in your next newsletter. You can find out, like you can have a section that can have things that may not be specific to your company, but maybe give knowledge on blockchain as a whole. And that would be found obviously Google, and then you can put them in your newsletter, find out what got the most reads, what got the most clicks. Do that on social media by posting a newsletter, see if people are clicking, see if people are liking, engaging with certain topics. Obviously the social media hits, if you post something about Bitcoin itself and it gets 10, 15 likes, you know, it's not, you know, the best thing and not the most engaged thing. But then if you post something where this is going down, this is going up, and it gets 100,000 more, you know, this is a hot topic. We should talk about this more. We should engage people more on this. Maybe, you know, ride that a little bit more. Obviously, newsletter engagement. By sending out the newsletter, seeing what people are really reading, because you could just be sending stuff out and nobody could be reading it. If nobody's seeing it, it doesn't matter. It's just worthless. You just put in words. So you have to put in things that matter, things that people want to see. So you got to find out what they want to see. Overall brand recognition, like they had with the app and like with the pop sockets and the phone case, having people know that you're the leader in this marketplace. Because right now, for me, it would be like I would just go to Coinbase and buy on Coinbase. Why would I need Yorkshyre? Why would I need that? But you can become the leader by having me recognize that you are where I should go. I can't handle it myself. I should go to you. You can handle it, and things of that nature. Education, using the keywords and the buzzwords, what people are talking about. It's really important to know what your customers are talking about, what your clients and potential clients are talking about, and knowing what they want and what they need to know more about.
So my part was strategy, and I have 4 talking points. First of all is monetizing the newsletter. Maybe this is the mom in me, I don't know. But I enjoy a good deal, and so there could be discounts offered, such as if you pay for 11 months, you can get the 12th month free, or first-time user discounts. Could be a tool to draw people in so they can get a feel for the newsletter, because seriously, who doesn't like a discount? And then there could also be 3 tiers to the newsletter. There could be a basic, advanced, and a premium. And the information in the newsletter could play off of information if you decide to ever do a mobile app. So the second point is the mobile app. This mobile app could either cost money to have it on your phone, such as a monthly fee, or it could be a free app with upgrades that can be purchased. The upgrades could be things such as buying or selling cryptocurrency using the app, the ability to see the market in real time, the ability to see what businesses are accepting cryptocurrency, and the currency trends that are happening in the market. Another idea is branching out into other forms of cryptocurrency. I know that there's other forms out there beyond Bitcoin. Maybe other people would be drawn into having more options instead of it just being Bitcoin. For example, people have used PayPal forever to exchange money, but now on the market people are using Venmo and Zelle and things like that. So, maybe drawing other people in by offering more than just Bitcoin. And I understand that research and focus groups would have to be done to see what customers prefer. And then education equals adoption. So as cryptocurrency, bless you, becomes more popular, especially among millennials, businesses are going to need to be educated on how to handle this type of currency in exchange for services or product. So as of right now, customers can't go into Giant Eagle and purchase groceries with their Bitcoin, but wouldn't it be cool if one day they could? If businesses knew the benefits and felt secure using this form of currency, then cryptocurrency could be more popular than using paper money or change. And this could be also useful in travel because there's no exchange rate, so there'd be no need to exchange currency in different countries. And this could be helpful when reserving hotels, flights, rental cars, or even sightseeing destinations. You could travel the world and not have to worry about currency rates or exchanges.
Good work.
Jackson. Yep. You have questions? It's going to be easier if you're up there.
Yeah, we're just taking all this right now. Thank you guys, first of all.
Is that the hot seat?
Yeah, that was a lot of good work. Thank you, definitely for that. It's always good to get a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on opinion. Don't really have any questions right now. I'm just kind of letting it fester. There's a lot of information.
I do.
Yeah.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
Who selected the millennials as the market and why?
The entire class.
Was that
because
a
we
group
felt
deal?
It was more relatable to their age and to their market.
I think a lot of it came out of the, as the group mentioned, the distrust of the markets and institutions, and that kind of grows. The other thing that when we did research into who's actually buying Bitcoin, it was younger people. And I think that our intent is to have the name and everything out there. And as Carlos mentioned with the buying portions of Bitcoins, you can have more like investment clubs and get multiple people involved. And then as they get older and as they get more, they earn more money, they can then...
So you're saying grow up with it?
Yes.
So it's,
Yeah.
it's like, because, my first thought is millennials, don't have the money. And as a group, you want to bring in...
Which was me, who loves to play devil's advocate.
Right.
It was a unanimous decision, but it's always in the back of my mind, no, what about me? I'm not a
But I
millennial.
like the thought of the company growing up with the age group, which I hadn't considered, which is a good thought. You can walk before you run, and they will have money someday, God willing, and so that they can pay the taxes to support us. But,
Carlos, you talked
that's
about
interesting.
the big group, right? So having that sole focus of just being a Bitcoin investment, would you almost, do you know what Acorns is? You know what Acorns is? Okay, so you take your spare change on your purchases and it gets funneled into an investment into a fund. Would you guys almost suggest having like a Bitcoin investment group that you could only get invested into Bitcoin, but then it's managed? Like you don't just have the rights to your set amount of Bitcoin. You have it managed to, yeah, it's a 24/7 asset. Here's a safety net because we're always on top of it and we're going to have the sell order in case it does drop 80% overnight. Is that something that you guys would kind of elaborate off of the Bit group onto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's starting to make more sense because with hedge funds, you do need a lot of paperwork. So we are kind of shooting for the institutional investors to get in and diversify them, but who's going to give two 21 and 22-year-olds $1 million investment that's going to be able to grow? So that's definitely something to look into. Is that Bit group? Yeah.
That was definitely a question of ours as we looked at it as a class. The hurdle of convincing the more traditional investors, we started talking and it got more into, and all of us mentioned education because it is so new, that getting those, that it can be done, but you're spending all your time on getting that small amount of population, whereas if you expanded your footprint and looked at it from the growing with the company, then you end up with people that you can monetize your newsletter, you can monetize more things. Now it's not going to maybe be the same amount of money, but you're still generating revenue and you're building that reputation. And that was like the biggest thing, because if you're going after the more traditional investor, that's where you're going to be spending your time, is trying to educate them, and they're wholly different than the younger millennials, who are the ones, even if they don't have the money, they're still the ones buying Bitcoin more than anybody else.
Yeah, you were the ones that mentioned the lifetime customers. Yeah, so that's a lot more attractive than heading into boardrooms and getting shut down by all these gray hairs that are just like, oh, I don't know what it is. I don't like the fact that you two know more than I do about it, so it's not something that can be invested in. So that's something that we spent a lot of time this summer actually doing, was going into these meetings with these guys, and they're looking at us with their jaws dropped, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then they just look at the age and they're like, yeah, can't do an investment. So it is hard, because we are going after, or we have been going after, the accredited investors who either need to make $250,000 a year or have $1 million in liquid assets. Those are the 1%ers, essentially. You know, that's a hard target market to go after. So it makes a lot of sense to go after a group that already knows a little bit about it, and you're able to present yourselves as just knowing a little bit more and know how to manage the assets for them. Yeah.
And there is money out there. I mean, if you look at the, I think we mentioned at one point, the Fire Festival, and those kids were willing to spend thousands of dollars on tickets for, essentially, it ended up being nothing. Now, I'm not recommending that that's what you do, but there's that money out there. Those kids have the money in some fashion, so you can tap into that. You have, startups. You have kids in IT industry and coding and all that kind of stuff, where there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's something that really, I think, to kind of tap into.
Can I play devil's advocate here just a sec? The people
No,
that are
because you're
in,
the gray-haired guy. I've already said no.
but I've listened to it long enough, I have a little grasp of it. God, every time you're around him. But the IT people and your generation, or the millennials, they could do this themselves. You know, they can go to Coinbase or wherever. So the value, you know, that's what he's got to focus on, or they have to focus on, is what value do they bring over what they can just go online and read and jump on Coinbase, whereas the gray hairs, you know, my mother in particular, I'm thinking her and cryptocurrency, oh boy. But they want to be in the game, and they don't know how. You know, this is where Jackson and I have had discussions about, you know, why not be transactional? And instead of being it's the opposite, you know, it's a total different business change, but be on the transactional side for those that can't jump on their phone and buy cryptocurrency right now. You know, and make your make a small percentage on a lot of transactions with little overhead risk, and let them make their own investment decisions.
So yeah, you've brought that up almost as like a consulting business where you can
Almost
go,
as a broker.
yeah, which hasn't been a bad idea, but
Because it generates revenue.
there it is.
There it is. If Jackson's heard that once.
So
Money.
you mentioned the Asian community was a popular user. Why?
When we were doing research, it just kept leading back to that community. I guess technology as well, because of technology, because of how advanced they are in certain things, more than anywhere else in the world. It just kept coming back to the Asian community, that they're the ones that seem to be. When I researched the top 10 people or investors in cryptocurrency, there were like 4 or 5 out of the top 10 that were Asian, that were the #1 investors in the world globally.
So the reason I asked, and we look at trends, you know, and I've had the opportunity to have some Asian students, and one of the keys that they're looking at is, how do I get my money out of Asia? How do they put it up into Canada, Toronto, or something like that? You know, is there a trust for the government issue, something like that? But the point is, there's a trend. And I like the fact, and I'd like to have you expand a little bit more on these 4 or 5 cities. Why are they so popular with cryptocurrency? Get down, tell me who the customer is in those cities.
I didn't go into that much research for that part of it, sorry.
Any guesses? What were the cities? What's going on in those
San
cities?
Francisco was the top.
Okay.
The top.
Sacramento, Seattle, Columbia. I mean, like the biggest company in Seattle is Microsoft. So people, tech giants.
Well, you said San Francisco and Sacramento, that's near Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So you're talking tech
Yeah.
headquarters of the world.
Buying real estate, and that's where they're putting their money at, in real estate, so that's why those things are probably gonna.
But what I found out when I was researching the top 10 global hotspots is this little town in Slovenia that I can't pronounce had the least population. They were like 4th on the list. They were above London, they were above Tel Aviv, they were above Buenos Aires. London was below them. So it's like.
So
what are
who's
they
their
doing?
customer? What are they moving? Wine industry? I'm just,
I don't know.
you know, those are some of the things when we get into every day looking at who is our customer. I want to, you know, expanding on the baby boomers. One of the issues that Northwest Mutual is dealing with is these baby boomers have, and I figure some billions of dollars that are coming down to the millennials. and they're calling it the vapor investment. The baby boomers pass away, the money comes down to the millennials, and it disappears. Just vaporizes. They are not doing what other generations are, keeping it, investing it for the long haul. But it goes. So in your education side, when you guys were doing this, I was thinking about crowdfunding, not crowdfunding. And I just had his name down. Anyways, he created we had 9,000 people that came to Cleveland on crowd marketing or something like that. But he ended up selling it to one of the large corporations. So in a way, if I like your idea of going to these hot spots and talking about it, doing what you're doing here, because number one, you're networking with the people that understand it. Is it the IT people? Because it's so easy. I understand phones, I'll buy it on phone. That's normal, right? For those people. For our generation, I gotta go down to the bank. Can you give me a Bitcoin check so I can make sure
Saying that,
you know?
San Francisco has 177 merchants plus 29 Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah, you go over to Europe and you use your phone to buy a Coke, right?
Yeah, they don't have like credit cards or anything anymore in China, so they're just using QR scanners right off of their phone. They're able to draw their funds from there, which is, you have mobile wallets that you can store your Bitcoin on your phones. So there's a story of somebody that was able to come from Venezuela into the U.S., and the only way he was going to be able to transfer all of his wealth was put it into Bitcoin, memorize the 12-word key, cross over the border, and then he would be able to bring all of his wealth strictly by memorizing it. So that's a big point to touch on, but not really a market that we can have come invested. I do like the millennial target though. Going on like a tour of speeches would be a good idea. It's just a good way to get in front of people, because it's one thing to send out an email blast. It's another to actually go in front of people and speak and be able to shake hands and talk to people, answer questions personally. I think that's definitely a good idea.
Face-to-face is a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of value.
No,
So you talked about colleges. Why
They
colleges?
talk about colleges.
Why colleges?
I would like Tyler was saying, growing with the customer base. These are kids that are going to be in school, business courses, with a class like this, and where we'll get into those higher positions or inherit money. We could obviously see that they will, but okay, I like them, they look like us, we can go into investing even more. Like there'll be like a Uber, like my mom doesn't use Uber. Like she can call it, she still uses a taxi. So I'm like, Mom, it's cheaper, do this. It's that gap where it's like, okay, I can invest on my phone. And that simple, it's more of a millennial and probably even younger range where it's probably 5-year type thing where you grow your YouTube base that gets more millennials and the actual college tour is revenue. You get hard cash to pay just to talk. So that's what we say college tour.
Mm-hmm. You're good at talking, so you should get paid for that.
did enough of that in class.
I'm not saying. We're 28 to 35 roughly, millennials. Somebody look that up, you've got your computers.
I've seen so many different ranges.
Depends
different
on
ranges,
what
yeah.
you
Right.
Yeah.
By some, I'm considered one, like old one. But I mean, I'm 2 years from 40, so, I mean, millennials aren't as young as
And I've seen
most people
some
think anymore.
that go up to 40.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
according to, I mean, This is Wikipedia, just for a
Oh.
quick reference.
Flush towards your ears.
It's 1981 to 1996, but I was born in 97,
Same.
so I believe I'm a millennial though. I think 2000 is when it starts being Gen Z.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But it's your Gen Z that's now
They,
beginning college, so your college tour to capture millennials, you've got a couple years. So,
And definitely graduating soon would be able to have some sort of poll as well, to be able to get in there and be like, yeah, I've studied this, like, put yourself in your shoes right now. If you're a freshman, imagine having this as just like a side education, being able to, I tell people my major is cryptocurrency and my minor is economics. So that's how I introduce myself in the little spiel at the beginning of semesters. But putting yourself in their shoes and saying, like, you guys could be on top of this, you also could educate yourselves and start investing early would be a good idea as well.
I would argue that millennials do have money. I think some do.
I didn't realize the millennials were so old.
yeah.
Good Lord.
Every day, a little bit older.
All right.
So, at university school, we had the gentleman come in who did well, lost his whole company in 2008, and picked up with a camera and 3 friends and started marketing, going out and interviewing people in that millennial age, young millennial Z generation, and built up a following, subscription base. He then went to, if I remember correctly, Huffman Publishing, and who does magazines, and sold the company for $20 million after 2 or 3 years, just because he had the subscription base. So when you take a look at who your customer is, maybe it's not necessarily the investing side, but it's accumulating these customers that you can now go to, whoever it might be, and say, look, we've got this following, and it's worth something.
Yeah, creating that network of people that you're able to go to and say, I've got the millennial generation, I've got all their emails right now. You need to ask them.
You know, millennials are definitely your minimum viable product. Get it in there. You have a better chance because they're technology savvy. But, you know, take a look at Schwab years ago, were charging their older customers 12% for investments. And they went out and said, we got to get these young people, so we're going to give them their phones. We're only going to charge them 2%. Well, you got an older generation, dude. You're screwing me out of 10%. I'm learning how to use the phone. And they flipped all the older generation into using their phone. People will do it if there's a value. And that's the key. What's the value for your customer? What are you doing every day? If you're going to go to the 5 cities and the millennials and do these speeches, why should I come? Who's your friend over there doing financial at the front door?
Revac,
Okay. Where do you go to school?
Akron,
Akron. And what's he doing over there?
presenting to people for a retirement fund.
Retirement funds.
Yeah.
So and they don't have to pay for it, right? But he's building up that network. Maybe they won't use him, but maybe they'll tell somebody else about it.
Yeah.
So what you guys presented on this education and going out, I think it's got to be fine-tuned. You need to specifically say, okay, where am I going to go? Because you need to monetize this, because there's this thing called the boomerang that somebody in the room doesn't want to have the effect of. That would be you coming home.
Right.
Don't want another year?
The locks have been changed.
All right, what else? Last input for.
Yeah, have you guys had any questions questions over the past 8 weeks still that he couldn't answer?
I don't know anything about this, that's
Yeah.
right. By the way, when I ever have students, I'm just putting them towards Jackson. I said, here, connect. And there's, I know there's a few CSU students, I think, that are on yours that are into the blockchain type thing. How would you like to be able to pay colleges with cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency loans. Is that possible?
Yeah, they do that.
Did you guys know that?
You put your Bitcoin up for collateral.
Okay. Had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a market? All these guys that are already in the Bitcoin? You want to buy that business? Turn it into something? Okay. Good. Anything else?
Nothing, just thank you again. It's been incredible being able to hear all of this, and I appreciate your guys' work. Don't be afraid to reach out, connect to me. LinkedIn, Twitter, extremely active on Twitter. I love blasting like Forbes when they throw out articles about Bitcoin because it's usually not all the way correct. They like to throw out things that are clickbait. But yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, usually answer.
Well, we just hope that there were some suggestions in there that you will be able to take on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the goal, so,
No, definitely learned a lot. Have a good direction to kind of head in.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dave, you're an entrepreneur. We'll close with thinking back. What's the 3 most important points to being an entrepreneur?
Watch Shark Tank. I know it sounds silly, but there sits 4 successful investors, and listen to their questions, and I go back to value propositions and revenue. It sounds greedy, it sounds capitalistic, but welcome to Reality Ranch. Where's the revenue stream, and how do you get to it? And there's nothing wrong with profit. In fact, if you're going to keep a company, there's got to be profit. That's what drives the world. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you're going to keep the lights on and keep the employees paid, it has to generate revenue. So that's got to be the focus. And then to get to the revenue is a measuring stick of the amount of value that you can provide. That sounds simplistic, but it's fairly true in the world. So that's what I look at, and that Shark Tank is it's a good measuring stick of it, and how they value companies and what they're willing to pay. So some of it's reality, some of it's perception. And when the tech boom happened, there was no value in some of those companies, but it was hype, and it was selling the dream. So there's some of that in there, but real value, will generate revenue. So.
Lisa, what's it like living with an entrepreneur?
Which one? It's challenging, but very interesting. It's interesting to hear, especially in this day and age, these ideas and this whole Bitcoin thing, obviously, for my age, is new and difficult to understand. But I find your newsletters are very helpful, especially for someone my age. I mean, do I understand all of it? Not yet. But I definitely see the trend and where it's going to a certain extent.
Trend, keywords, my favorite words. Networking, thank you, Jackson, and trends. In the higher education, when I came to Amber and I said, here's my card, I'm moving to North Carolina and we're going to take these classes online, she could have said thank you and see you later, but she understands the value. I was just with the dean at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, And from last year, their online classes have increased 40%, the attendance. They didn't increase the number of classes, but now the attendance. And you guys know, the savings that you might have in time alone. Because really how far is the drive is it for you?
For me?
Yeah,
15
per
minutes.
year, it's like a plane flight. But, yeah, but so, there's time, and your time is worth value. Right? So the value proposition, being able to do it anytime. I was Zooming while driving with students, but I was using that time effectively. And I think that's one of by being educated, you're saving me time to doing the research on cryptocurrency. I read what you send out. Do I sit and study it and make questions on it? No, but I look for it. There's value. I see value in it. Now you just need to make sure you find more people, see what the value. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
On a Saturday
Great work,
morning.
Jack. Very good work. It
Very
was awesome. Yeah.
I'm glad you guys stay here for a while because I'm going to talk to you. And Jackson, I'll see you guys sometime in the future, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
A lot of information, those are yours. A lot of information in those books, your citations.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. Our website's designengineering.com. You guys,
So wait a minute. Steve,
you guys are doing a great job.
what problem do you solve? What problem do you solve?
We control heat, so when people soup up their cars, they mess with the balance that the factory had put in place. And typically it starts hurting other components or affecting the comfort of the driver or passengers. So a prime example is exhaust. When they put on an aftermarket exhaust, if anybody knows what that is, it typically routes differently. It'll start burning up starters, wires, and run differently under the floorboard, so your feet are hot, your starters are burning up, your wires are burning up. We make protective components for those type of situations. Real niche, real small, but growing every day, trying anyway. Get up and try every day.
So last night I talked to a gentleman that same situation, heat. They make the rails for all the aircraft carriers when they shoot those planes off. But those rails are, machined to whatever they call it. But they were able to come up with new technology. It can't be the hardened metal because all the steam or whatever, but they came up with technology to paint these. And they're only good for about 10,000 flights. And then they have to replace all those skids.
Great. I like the reoccurring revenue.
Business model, reoccurring revenue. They provide the new and they provide a remanufactured.
Keep them switching out. Love that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chuck?
Yep, anytime. I'll send you my bill.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah. I know I won't get paid, but thumb will count. Okay, Hiram, what's going on? It's your turn to your 60-second speech. No, you're not. What's going on? What's Hiram doing? What's...
Oh, well, probably many of you saw the new initiative that was announced, the new tuition model that they're rolling out.
How does that affect us? It doesn't affect us any at all, does it?
Please believe so. Yay. Yeah, so.
It does affect your friends that you tell about Hiram? Because you want to make sure students...
Not if they come into the same program that we're in.
Our
So we're starting to make more connections to have internship opportunities, and so we are really pushing to make sure that those opportunities are also available for our adult learners too. So we're getting there. But But I mean, for those of you that were in the social media communication course last spring, I've been pushing a lot of what you have found. I'm like, hey, our students are students too, and let's include them in there. And so actually one of the promo videos that they had featured a student piece through our Tri-C partnership.
Alan.
Alan, yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's good to kind of see more of that representation, and I know that they're starting to push with the I Am Hiram to have more representation of our adult learners too. So we're getting there. But, trying to be a loud voice. Sometimes I listen. But we do have a new person at Hiram, Chad Aaron. He's actually a 98 alum of Hiram. He comes to us from the Lumina Foundation that has a lot of initiatives in higher education, but a lot of his focus has been on the adult learner market and how can we maybe leverage prior learning and credentialing and kind of alternative ways to meeting the needs, the educational needs of our adult learners, because they're coming from industries and all of that, not just right out of the traditional aged college. So, and so we are now part of a pilot program with Lumina to explore more of that credentialing idea. So keep an eye out on things that he's starting to find for us.
I have a student in one of my strategy courses. He's vice president of Gates Rubber, based in Dallas, Texas. And he's taking his MBA. And I had to deal with, he was in Ireland, he was in France, he was in Brazil, but, colleges, that's what's going on, not just necessarily in higher education, but as you're coming out, we've gone from, as you probably heard me say, from state to state competition to country. I mean, look at the little market that Dave Markley's in of heat shrink, and he's in 32 countries. If you come to a company knowing about cryptocurrency, the likelihood of, okay, yeah, I can get you, I know a little bit about cryptocurrency, but, we need to get paid by, or our customer wants to pay us by cryptocurrency. How do we do it? It's the trend is there. It's just being, now a little bit more, and it's a tool to put in your toolbox.
Well, even blockchain, Walmart's been using that. I know a couple other companies have been using it to help with the supply chain with food. I have yet to figure out a way to explain blockchain in like 5 seconds, but essentially that's why Bitcoin is supposedly so secure and everything. But there's healthcare. There's a couple of healthcare companies that have moved into using it. So I think that even aside from cryptocurrency, the blockchain is even more useful.
So blockchain was invented back in the 70s?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But
the technology didn't exist, but
right.
Yeah.
They knew the concept, but they didn't have the timing. Now they have the timing because of security.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest, where did I see that, Notre Dame College just got a grant for cybersecurity to put together a department, because that's what all these companies need. Right now, you're going to get hacked, right? It's just preparing yourself for when you are hacked. Can I push the button that says, hey, I've been hacked? My credit card company calls me, hey, is this your charge? No, I'm not down in Atlanta right now. And it happens. It amazes me when people are traveling how often it's happening that credit cards are being numbers somehow taken and being used in areas that they haven't even been. Okay, how many are you in the next 8 weeks? Hands up. Okay. Integrated entrepreneurship. So what we did for this first 8 weeks is part of what you're going to do the next 8 weeks. Okay. Now, improvement on, and don't take this as a criticism, but take it as how you can make yourself more valuable. On your folder that you put out with that information, great for the classroom situation, had all the information together, you know, give it to a teacher. That's what I would expect. But you're going to be putting something together that's going to an outside client. You're going to be picking a organization, Chick-fil-A, right? Do you want to own your own franchise? Is that what you're working at?
Yeah.
Okay. Where?
We're releasing.
So in this next 8 weeks, part of this integrated entrepreneurship, you know, starting out, who's the customer? You said wherever they send you. I want you to flip that. I want you to say, this is where I'm going, because you've done the research. You know, you build it, Solon. It was the freeway, you know, it's, you know, why they didn't rip those buildings down earlier and put that type of a restaurant. Okay. There's a lot of areas that I want you to be in command. I don't want them to tell you. So you could, if you want, I'm not telling you you have to, you can incorporate that into your next 8-week program. So we're expecting customer value proposition, everything we talked about, that's going to be in your program, and then we're going to expand upon the next step in the next 8 weeks.
Do we pick our own each, or is it another class?
Good question.
project?
Nope. This is now, you have to pick church, right? Nonprofit still needs to make money. Yeah, you run out of money. Timing, we got to talk about timing for all these. Carlos,
What's up?
any ideas?
For, like the class, like for the, not really.
Okay, so do you have any connections in Mexico?
Oh, I am an intern at the company, so I've been working on creating, bringing more revenue and bringing
Okay,
ideas.
so that's exactly, do you see a niche market that company can expand upon? The idea being that you're going to have a presentation that will be, you can give it to your bosses and say, look, here's my work from the class, this is what I think. And we're going to work on that.
I guess piggyback on this, I guess I can do it on my assistant marketing job at Red Bull White Group and see how I can bring it in for them.
Okay, all right. Start thinking about it. Ryan?
I gotta start thinking about it. Got a lot going on in my head right now about this. I want to do something like, I want to do something kind of outside the box, really. I don't want to pick like.
What's your passion?
Sports, I would say. Spend a lot of time, too much time watching sports. I could probably pick something like that, like sports.
Start thinking about sports, because we had, what was his name? He has Indian sports cars, strictly Indian sports cars, and he sells them. But he knows everything about Indian sports cars. Put a website together. Liz, you're not, or no, you're in. Anna, you're not in?
I am.
You are, okay. Who's not in? Oh, gee,
I was
the
just
best
saying,
one. Maybe you better sign up.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, just come on back.
Amber's got an application here, she can get you.
We're doing the business practicum, right? Is that next week?
Oh, that's right, you're the business practicum?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, independent study, yeah. You signed your contract, we're doing it.
I did, yeah.
Right,
We're one-on-one.
yeah,
We're doing it,
yeah, all right.
okay? All right. I'm engaged. Okay.
Good.
I just had 28 students doing a restaurant project. And this guy from Gates was one of them. And his idea was just cancel it, done, bad investment. So,
I'll have to think about it.
no, you don't have time to think about it.
What do you mean?
Quick, what's your passion?
Uh,
What do you like?
I like working out.
Okay. You want to have a workout studio?
Maybe a gym.
Okay. What type of gym? I've done gym, the other students have done gyms before. There's specific customers for those gyms, specific placement. Don't put a gym where there's a big rec center. Not good.
Well, I go to Snap Fitness, so I could possibly do them for that.
Okay, my wife was a manager of Snap Fitness. Yeah, you are.
There's still time.
I don't know, something creative.
You don't have time to think, come on.
Yeah, what's your passion?
Yeah, I know the last person. Boy, Mr. I don't have to say anything anymore.
I don't know, I've been experimenting with Raspberry Pis lately, and that's a very people really don't know about. There's so much potential. Do you know where it is?
We're talking about the computer Raspberry Pi.
Not actually, it's going to be a bakery or something.
Well, that was my mind started
You
thinking.
bring a sample?
Come on, man.
I know.
My husband has a
Yeah, no,
What is
actually,
that? Okay, explain, what is it?
It's basically a computer, very stripped down computer, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it.
so I did at Chagrin, I did a creation lab. I had 6th graders programming Raspberry Pis.
It's awesome.
And all I did was I set up 4 screens, 4 Raspberry Pis, keyboard and a mouse.
Yeah.
And they came in and said, what is this? And I said, I don't know, you try it out. And again, just like Jackson, this was not a class. They were in there, and I had teachers coming in saying, what are you doing? They all want to come down here and work on this Raspberry Pi. Thought I was, and honestly, some of them thought I was giving food out. So, what's the name of the company? I think it's something Bits, but it was like 5 ladies that put together these electronic pieces that they thought that they could sell to businesses for prototyping quickly, save time and money, which they were. It was coming as a kit.
Yeah.
They won the Disney $100,000 idea challenge.
Yeah.
And from that, they connected into higher education, or not higher education, into education. They are selling these kits all over. And they're like from maybe $200, $400.
Wow.
So taking a product and just remarketing it, how could you use it? Because there's a generation that knows what it is,
Yeah.
but there's a generation that
Doesn't.
How can you take a product? I have to laugh, the products that are now partnering. Calvetta carpet, what are you leaving? Take your name off. I got the message. Calvetta carpet, what do they, have you seen their ads?
No.
Family, so they start with the whole family. It was the pictures of everybody in the family. And then eventually now they have the one, I'd say she's college age, is the spokesperson
The
for,
granddaughter.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, just this week, the ad is with Humane Society, dogs. You buy carpet, they give money to the Humane Society. Why Humane Society?
People love animals.
How much do they love animals?
A lot.
Enough to buy carpet.
Yeah, exactly. Not just donate to
They,
dogs.
today in the news, they said for Halloween, there will be $500 million purchased in dog costumes. $500 million, oh, okay, 500 million, whatever, but for dog costumes. Now, I have dealt with guys that buy stuff for Halloween. They put orders in April. And they have to figure out in April where I'm going to be for those 30 days. They bring in all their containers. And the containers have to get here before the China holiday, because if you miss that, you might, miss Halloween. Your containers are in shipment still. And then they put up all this, and they make some serious bang if everything works out. So how many have a dog?
Mine are too big for costumes.
Oh, you know, my dog would be having something, I'm not sure. Cooper, my assistant, right? Okay. Hope you had a good time. I hope it was enjoyable. How do you guys, you're going to be able to watch the video. How do you think you did? What would you have done better?
Probably focus them more on who the exact client is.
That was going to be one of my comments. Okay.
Or reach out to him.
Yeah. and
Okay.
getting
Talk to your client more.
Yeah, just reach out to him more.
Okay, good point. Carlos? It was perfect, no problems?
No.
You really wowed him, so the rest of us have to work on it.
So probably the one for your experience going forward, you guys are knowledgeable in your market, dropping, I almost did it, but I didn't, dropping your cards, because you all knew your topic. You were just crutching on your notes, right? Almost took them away. Somebody threw theirs on the floor and then had to organize them. But remember that going, you're not going to have that in front of the customer. If you're sitting there looking at your notes, are they going to? And reading your slides, don't read slides. It's good that you have it up there. You guys did well with your slides. Bullet points, and I was not reading your slide, I was focusing on what you were saying. Right, any other questions? Goodbye, go.
So
See ya.
is there,
Oh, wait a minute, you're too late,
is there anything next week?
Yeah, when does the next class start?
2 weeks from now?
19th, yeah.
19th.
Are we using
Yeah,
the
so
same
the next
book?
day we start the week before.
Same book.
Okay.
Is it the same setup too with Zoom and?
Right, and I'm gonna talk
You
to,
get the assignment list?
yeah,
Big class.
assignment? Your assignment is to find a company and product that you're gonna sell. And prepare with everything that you did this 8 weeks. I'll have it out this week. See you later.
Oh, do we have to turn anything in for this?
I'll upload the presentation.
Presentation, and I've got a book.
Each of us?
Okay.
I've got Nate report. Mine's there.
So if you're taking it